This video presents Gestalt, a general-purpose development environment for machine learning. Gestalt distills insight from prior work in domain-specific tools to support a common development process, which consists of two interleaved tasks: the implementation of a classification pipeline and the analysis of data as it goes through that pipeline. To better understand these tasks, let's look at how a developer would build a system that analyzes reviewer sentiment based on the text of a movie review. Solving the sentiment analysis problem involves transforming data through a series of steps called the classification pipeline. The developer gathers movie reviews, writes code to parse those reviews, computes attributes from parsed data, trains a model on some of the data, and tests the effectiveness of the model on new data. This same pipeline can be used to solve other machine learning problems. For example, a developer building a system that recognizes pen-based gestures might go through the same steps. Note that the specific behavior of the steps is different, but the structure of the classification pipeline is the same. We refer to the task of gathering data and writing code to build a classification pipeline as implementation. Since behavior is learned from data rather than manually specified, during implementation it's important for developers to look at intermediate data to understand the behavior of their system. For example, looking at the output of the parsing step lets the developer know if the data is being parsed correctly and see if there are any attributes that can be extracted from the data. After extracting attributes, graphing attribute values can help determine if there's signal in the data. And finally, after a model has been built and tested, looking at the breakdown of errors can help developers understand how to improve the model. We refer to the task of understanding data as it moves through the pipeline as analysis. The process of applying machine learning involves transitioning between implementation and analysis. Gestalt explicitly supports implementation, analysis, and easy transitioning between the two tasks in one tool. To see how Gestalt supports the machine learning process, we look at how a developer would use Gestalt to solve the gesture recognition task. This is the implementation perspective. The top left corner shows a representation of the classification pipeline. Developers can create their own pipeline. For this problem, the developer has laid out a pipeline for gesture recognition. The first step is loading data into the system. The developer can click on the parsing step and open up an editor. In this editor, they can write code to specify the behavior of the parsing step and load data into a Gestalt data table. After writing code, developers can run the script and inspect the output of the parsing step using the analysis perspective. Since analysis and implementation perspectives share a common data table, developers don't have to deal with traditional hurdles such as converting data and switching between applications. The analysis perspective provides aggregate visualizations of examples. Developers can write code to specify how to visualize a single example, and Gestalt aggregates these visualizations into a grid view. By viewing intermediate parsing output, developers can both ensure that the behavior of the parsing step is correct and inspect data to come up with descriptive attributes. Gestalt allows developers to inspect intermediate data after each step of the classification pipeline. Returning back to the implementation perspective, developers can continue to write code for other steps in the classification pipeline. The analysis perspective provides a standard confusion matrix view which breaks down errors made by the model. Since Gestalt maintains data from across the entire pipeline, developers can still view raw data in the grid view. Select an example from the grid view and view side-by-side views of the data and its attributes in the selected object view, and view side-by-side views of all of the data in the table view. Note that the developer has written a new custom visualization for each gesture, which shows both the normalized and unnormalized pen strokes. Developers can interact with the visualizations through standard faceted browsing techniques. They can sort, filter, and color examples. A developer looking at these results may want to better understand why triangles are confused with rectangles. To do this, they can filter data by clicking on the confusion matrix. This allows developers to see that some rectangles are being mislabeled as triangles. They can color by subject to see that subject 4 and 5 were responsible for the mislabeled data. Since Gestalt is a general-purpose tool, the same framework can handle many different machine learning problems. Here is an example of the sentiment analysis problem being solved using the same classification pipeline. Gestalt still provides aggregate views of the data, such as grid and table views, but the visualizations for individual examples are different. To test our system, we conducted a laboratory study to see how well developers could understand and debug machine learning systems within Gestalt. Our study showed that developers found and fixed more bugs using Gestalt than was the state-of-the-art baseline. We have presented Gestalt. Gestalt helps developers use machine learning by supporting the entire machine learning process, a process of implementing a classification pipeline, analyzing data as it goes through that pipeline, and easily transitioning between implementation and analysis.